Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Albright's Fashion Discovery Series. My name's Doreen Brodowski, and I have the honor of being the chair of the fashion department here at Albright College. This particular event is a collaboration of our Center for the Arts, our admissions department, and the fashion department at Albright. And the whole focus of this series is to educate current and prospective students on career possibilities in the fashion industry. Everyone's got a dream out there, I know that. So we feel in Albright, that in the fashion department, that we can help you find your dream and also help you succeed at living your dream. So I'll ask you to please put your questions in the chat, and I'll make sure that our guest speaker, I relay them to our guest speaker. So tonight's guest is Lauren Blazofsky. Lauren is a very recent graduate of Albright. She graduated in May 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, or I should say at the beginning of a pandemic.
Yep.
Lauren's currently working as a fashion stylist for Boscov's photo studio part-time, and also, I just learned, as a bridal stylist at David's Bridal. So while at Albright, Lauren completed an internship at Boscov's photo studio as a bride and got her, I guess, her initiation into styling. It turned out to be something that she wanted to do. So this internship actually kicked off her styling career. And I don't want to steal any more of your thunder. I'll just turn this over to you, Lauren, and you can tell and share with the students that are here what you do and talk about this passion of styling.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Like Doreen said, I am Lauren. I did recently graduate in May. I graduated virtually through the whole pandemic. It was definitely a struggle, but we made it work, and we had to do what we had to do. But I'm still excited to be here today. So like Doreen said, currently I work as a bridal stylist at David's Bridal. I just started working there part-time. Basically, if you've seen Say Yes to the Dress on TLC, I do that. So I help the bride try and just find that dream gown. So I go through all the racks, I let her go through the racks, we try on, we jack her up with veils, jewelry, shoes, everything. And then we even like have a little bell ceremony where she rings the bell and says yes to the dress. I also help find bridesmaids dresses, mother of the bride, prom dresses, special occasion, whatever you need, we have there. So that's currently what I'm doing. And on the side, I am freelancing at Boscov's photo studio, like Doreen said. So I started my internship there my first semester of my sophomore year. I got the internship through another alum from Albright. She did it. And when I went to back when we had in-person classes, I went to her internship presentation and I fell in love with what she was doing, and I wanted to do that. So I reached out to her. She gave me the contact, and I went upon it myself, and I reached out to them and said, I'm interested. How do I get this? And he emailed. He was like, come in for an interview. I came right in, and I got the internship right there. So basically at Boscov's, what I did was I started off as an assistant stylist. So I helped the head stylist style for all the tab photos, which is what you get in the mail. It looks like this, and it has like different photos. And I would style for online e-commerce as well. So we would get the outfits from the buyers, and then we would have to pin them to fit the model because they wouldn't necessarily always have the sample size, which is usually the smallest size. And we would hire like size 0, size 2 models and get an extra large pan. So we had to make that fit. So I had to learn fit measurements, how to pull the pants correctly, make it look right, make it look neat on screen. And then we would accessorize according to the brand. So I had to learn all the brands and what's more casual, what's more trendy, what's older, what's younger. I had to learn all of that. So then we would pick out shoes, jewelry, headpieces, whatever. We would work with hair and makeup. And then we'd send them off to the set. And while on set, we would watch them, make sure the pants aren't bunching, rolling, making sure the shirt looks good, making sure hair looks good as the photographer is shooting. So I did that for a semester, and I actually loved it so much and fell in love with styling that the manager and myself, we kind of approached each other at the same time. And he was like, I'd love to keep you on. And I wanted to keep working. So I did continue working until actually March of 2020. Right as the pandemic kind of hit is when I stopped working there kind of all the time because they had to lay off a lot of people due to COVID, which was really sad. But before that, I just kind of kept doing the same thing, but just kind of had a little bit more role, and I would work more days during the week. So luckily, my schedule, I only had classes 2 times a week. I kind of planned it that way. And then the other 3 days, I would go into work. And this was a paid internship, which was really great. And then it continued to be paid when I got hired part time. And I just learned so much about photography and styling that they actually had me working by myself then as a photographer and a stylist all in one. So I did flat styling, which I actually took a class on at Albright. So that was so helpful. It was an interim class all about styling. We did learn how to flat style. So I would style kids' clothes, men's clothes, all flat lay, and I had to learn lighting, all the camera. I had to learn how to edit the photos, which also Albright helped me because of CAD. I took a CAD class one semester, and I learned all about photo shoot, InDesign, Illustrator, and I actually used that then when I was on my own. So it definitely helped me. And then I just realized I just wanted to be in styling, and I just kind of kept searching for it. And then David's Bridal presented itself. So I went there, and I'm kind of doing both as I'm still searching and trying to find exactly what I'm looking for. But I'm in love with what I'm doing, and styling is just something that is a passion of mine. I love putting clothes together ever since I was little. That's something that I did. Um, so like I said, classes that definitely helped me was this interim styling class. It was so much fun. There was like 10 of us, and we actually did our own photo shoot, which was really awesome, which I'm going to show you guys. And then for my one other class, I think it was communications was the class, and you could do your own project at the end. It was either communications or visual merchandising. I can't really remember, but both were really great classes. You got to pick like your final project. It could be anything. It could be a poster board, lookbook, whatever. So I decided to do my own photo shoot. I had the resources by working at Boscov's. So I went for it, and it was actually fashion history because it was based on a time period. So you had to pick a time period and work with it. So mine was the 60s and 70s. So I decided to do a really cool photo shoot, and it turned out amazing. So I'm going to show you guys just a little bit of what exactly styling is and how I style. So I'll show you my website. I think it is really important to make a website, because I put it on all my applications for jobs and everything just so they can see my work and it's really accessible instead of adding all these separate documents. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is like my opening page, and this is actually from my 60s and 70s shoot. So then it goes right open to my portfolio, which is what all my work. So this is part of the 60s and 70s shoot that I did. And I picked out the model. So I recruited the model because she worked at Boscov's, and I really got to know her and made all these connections. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, I am doing a photo shoot for class. Would you want to join? And she was, yep, because one, it helps me, and two, it also helps her. It helps the photographer. It helps the hair and makeup. They all promote this. I'm still getting tagged on Instagram pictures from this photo shoot because it's helping everybody that was involved in it, which is so incredibly awesome. And that's one thing I love about it is there's so many people involved and everybody can use these photos. So as you see here, I kind of went for, these are my street style ones. And then I did more of like a fancier kind of 60s and 70s vibe. I picked out the background. I picked out everything down to the last accessories, the makeup, the hair, everything I picked out, and then I just had people help me do it. I went to Target, I went everywhere. I went to my mom's closet, like, this is my mom's dress, this is my mom's dress. This was my cousin's prom dress. Like, I used my resources and what I thought looked good and would fit with the era. So these are just some snippets from that photo shoot that I did, which I'm still in love with. And here we have the photo shoot that I did for my styling class. This is actually a student at Albright, and this is actually Alumni Hall. So we picked the location, we picked the clothes, we picked who we wanted to model. They provided a photographer, but we picked the poses, the hair, the makeup. We had to call our own hair and makeup artists. So these are a few of the looks. Again, this is all in Alumni Hall, which I think is incredible. They came out so nice. Like, this is just stunning. And we worked as a group, and there was 3 of us, and we picked out everything for what vibe we were going for. With this, we had to make a mood board. We had to make a hair and makeup mood board, a visual mood board for the outfit. So everything down to the last detail, we had to visually plan out before, and the photos were just, again, incredible. These are a few of my still life photos from that same styling class. I took these myself on my iPhone, and I just styled them. This is just a fun photo shoot I did with my best friend. She's a wedding planner. So I made a connection there. She knew a photographer. She asked me to style for her. Made a connection with the photographer. He reached out to me and was like, "You want to do more shoots together?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So I would definitely say, like, it is just so much about who you know and networking. Networking is so important. You probably hear it all the time, but I couldn't like rave about it more. So these are just a little bit more. Hopefully it loads. And then it comes up on my Boscovs. So these are all from our back to school book a year ago, not 2020, 2019. So these are models. This is all shot. This was shot like in the studio. This was in the studio. These were shot on location. So we would travel to like a middle school. We've traveled to a random park, whatever, to get the perfect shot. Again, we would hire all these models. I actually got to sit on a model casting where a modeling agency would reach out to all their clients and say, there's a casting. Do you want to go? This is who it's for. And we would sit there, me, the photographer, and the stylist, since I was just shadowing, and they would ask some questions, ask for their headshots, ask for their portfolio pictures. And we picked out who we think is best going to represent the brand. Because Boscovs is very, again, like very smiley and not very like edgy and modern. It's very happy and bright and fun. So we had to fit that when we're looking for models. So I worked with men, I worked with kids, I worked with little boys, as you see here, like, and it's tough. Little kids are hard to work with, and but you got to make it fun for them. So these are a couple just more like some active wear shots. So I really did a lot there, like from prom to Adidas we worked on. So it was just such a great experience for me. And then again, this is just my website and how I designed it. And there's just more things about it that you can definitely add to it, but I can stop sharing my screen. So that's just kind of about me. More about my Albright experience. I loved Albright, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I knew going in I wanted fashion, and I kept looking for schools. I was like, do I apply to New York? What do I do? But then I also wanted that kind of college like experience. I didn't really want to be in a city. And when I visited Albright, like I knew instantly. And I've read so many things about the fashion program. I'm still reading things about the fashion program today. And it really is so helpful. And somebody's going to look and be like, oh, you have a degree from Albright? No, they're going to look and be like, wow, you're in fashion. Okay, here are your experiences. That's what's going to matter. And Albright really helped me do that. Like I said, I met so many people and so many connections through professors, alumni, whoever, like you just have to reach out. And even me and Doreen today still are in contact. And we're still networking together, which is great. A few things that I did while I was at Albright. I was actually on the step dance team. No, I wasn't. There's two different things. I did that my freshman year, and then I actually was in Sigma Kappa for about 2 years as well. So even though I was still in classes, I still tried to get out there and meet new people. That was the main thing I wanted to do when I joined both the sorority and the step team. Was I just wanted to meet new people and just kind of get myself out there. And with Albright being a smaller school, it was so easy to meet people, and everybody was just great. And I was saying, I'm still friends with people today. I am actually in my best friend's wedding that I met at Albright. So it's just such a great community, and you really get to know everybody on a personal level, especially your professors. Get to know them, and like I said, me and Doreen still talk today, and she's reaching out saying she knows someone in the styling industry and reaching out to me. So if you want to succeed, you have to put yourself out there, and that's kind of what I did. I just wanted to work hard, and I wanted to be in the fashion industry, and I found my niche, which is something that I would suggest kind of looking more into. Like when I was little, I wanted to be in fashion, but I wanted to be a designer. Well, the more I learned about design, I didn't want to do it. So I was like, okay, merchandising. But merchandising is so broad. You could be a visual merchandiser, you could be a buyer, you could be a stylist, you could be so many different things. And I was like, wow, this is kind of overwhelming. What do I want to do? So that's when I took that styling class. I took these different classes, and I really narrowed down on what I wanted to do and what I really love to do within this fashion industry. And again, that's the great thing about Albright. These fashion classes, you have so many different classes that you can pick from. Like I took a CAD class where I used Photoshop, InDesign, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it, but it turned out to be one of my favorite classes. But then we also have like fashion business, which is more of the business side, and the more of accounting side and the number side, and where you learn about buying. So it's definitely good to take those classes and take extra classes. Like that CAD class was an extra class. The styling class was just an extra class. If you have the credits available to you, take them. I even took random business marketing classes just to learn more about marketing to then help me within the fashion industry. So it is all about just working hard and making those connections. I worked before I started at David's Bridal, after I got laid off at Boscov's for being part-time. I worked at an IT consulting company, literally nothing to do with what I like or in fashion. And when I met with them and talked with them, and they were like, you're going to realize that things you learn here, you can take with you into the fashion industry and into any job that you have. And they were definitely right. And I needed to take that job to realize that I do have the skills to do other jobs now. So make the most of everything, even if it's not something you really like, try it out. And if you don't like it, then that's okay. And that was kind of like what I needed to learn. And then I found styling just was everything I ever wanted. So that was definitely great. So if anybody has any questions just about my experience or my internship or kind of what I do now, like Doreen said, put it in the chat and she'll relay it back to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I do have a question, Lauren, and that is, so Boscov's was styling where you were taking a shot, a photograph, right? Mm-hmm. And you were able to pin the back of the garments, mm-hmm. and you were able to do crazy things behind that, behind the person. Mm-hmm. And now at David's Bridal, right? That's you're fitting the whole person.
Yeah.
So what are the challenges in that?
So definitely I've been in training, and now that I'm on my own at David's Bridal, I've learned how to measure and fit. And a big thing that we talked about in training was the difference between size and fit. So you can find the right size, but it might not fit you right. So our job is to figure out, okay, how are we going to make this fit right? How are we going to make this look on her? Because when buying a wedding dress, it's a lot different. You want to make sure everything is right, everything looks good, because that's how they're going to say yes to the dress. So I learned how to measure bust, hip, waist, and then we have a guide, and we follow the guide to see what size they are, and we'll pull, like, say there's between a size 12 and a size 14. We'll pull both. They'll try on both sizes and whatever one they feel most comfortable in. We will order them that size, or they can take off the rack. We also have alterations in-house, which we bring out, and they also help us with the fit. So it's definitely a lot different, because at Boscov's, I literally would just pull a pair of pants up, slap a safety pin down the whole pant leg, send them out, and you wouldn't see it. It wouldn't matter.
Right.
Where David's Bridal, it matters, because they're saying yes to a dress they probably dreamt about since they were little, and probably one of the biggest days of their lives. Where at Boscov's, I do this probably, sometimes we do 60 shots a day, where I'm maybe working with 6 brides a day, not even, it depends on the day. So it's definitely one, like, if one is very fast paced, where the other is you're trying more to connect with the bride on a personal level. Like I was telling before this, I cried with a bride when she got her wedding dress, and I didn't even know her. I met her that day, and she cried, and then I cried because she was saying yes. And it's just such a rewarding feeling working there, because you are personally connecting with someone rather than just working with a bunch of models. So it was 2 very different sides of styling that I have experienced and still doing at the same time.
Thanks. We do have a question in chat. So was it hard to put yourself out there? I find that I am shy with new people and slowly become more outgoing. How do you get yourself to do it?
So I have a little shy side to me as well. Some people are like, when they meet me, they're like, how do you say that? And I think, like, if you meet me, I'm a very bubbly, just kind of like lively person. But again, I do have my shy side. And I think what helped me was just my drive. Was I wanted to be in the fashion industry, and I needed to put myself out there, even if it felt uncomfortable to me. I had to put myself in uncomfortable positions, and I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And just like putting myself out there with professors, just trying to getting to know them on a more of a personal level, because you have that opportunity being at a small school. Just going to their office hours, going and seeing them after class. That's kind of how I did it. And then with just getting to know like alumni and networking, I met them through friends of a friend. And I kind of just was like, does anybody know anybody in the fashion department like that is also studying fashion? And they were like, yeah, she's studying. And I just kind of went up and talked to her. And I know that can be hard. But definitely just use your drive for something. Like if you're in the fashion program for a reason. So obviously you want to work in fashion and you want to be in the industry. So use that and just be confident within yourself. And don't be afraid to get rejected, because you definitely can, and it's going to happen, and it's going to be hard, but you'll find that right fit for you. So that's kind of like my best advice that I can give on that.
Thanks, Lauren. We have another question. I want to be a stylist, but I'm also doing a business major, so I want to combine both. Did you find it necessary to take all fashion classes, or just the ones that go more into styling? And what classes do you recommend taking?
So, like I said, I actually took a lot of business classes as well. I had a few extra credits open that I needed to take, and there really weren't many more fashion classes available for me to take because I took most of them. So I took a business marketing class. I took another business class, and I definitely have used that. With styling, the goal of styling is to market. You're marketing the brand. So you are creating the brand image, and the whole goal of brand imaging is marketing to the customer or the consumer or whoever. So that's the whole goal of styling. So that relates back to marketing and marketing strategies and being in business. Especially like at David's Bridal, we have to meet a sales goal as personal stylists, and as a store, we have to meet a goal. So that does lead back to business, the business side as well. I'm learning how do we meet that goal? What was our goal from last week? How do we achieve that? Like more looking at the number side. So they definitely do relate. And like I said, I would take both fashion and business. Like I said, I took a lot of classes because I had the opportunity to with my credits. So I would say even take those fashion classes that sound interesting to you. Look at the description. That's what I did with the styling one. I read all about it, and it was a brand new class. And I was like, you know what, this sounds really interesting to me. I'm going to take it. Same thing with the business classes. I read the descriptions and just wanted to make a healthy balance of both. But at the end of the day, I was like, my major is fashion. So I want to take a little bit more in-depth fashion classes. And I would say ones that really helped me was, again, fashion business, because that's combining fashion and business. And it's giving you, I remember it was a class with Professor Blazofsky, actually. And it was examples of accounting, but in fashion terms. So that was definitely so helpful to me. I would say like fashion communications, learning how to communicate through marketing strategies, learning all the different types of marketing strategies. Business classes, definitely accounting. I know accounting can be a little bit harder if you're not a big numbers person, but that was definitely helpful. And my business marketing class as well. Like I said, that was a very helpful class for me personally. But whatever you feel is going to be the perfect fit for you. And like I said, just read the descriptions before. That really helped me.
And can I add something, Lauren? Students come to me and they say, I want to be this major, and then next year they'll switch and they'll want to be this major. Or I want to co-major. And you tend to get wrapped up in, declaring a major.
Mm-hmm.
But there's enough flexibility. Everyone gets free credits, right? Or free electives, not free credits, free electives that you have to fulfill. And you can use those to explore other areas. Your major doesn't even show up on your transcript or your degree, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. You get a Bachelor of Arts degree or a Bachelor of Science degree. How you present yourself on your resume is, the classes that you took and the way you want to represent yourself. If you're going for a marketing job, you emphasize the marketing classes that you've took and the marketing experience. So, trying to decide if you've made the right decision in terms of a major or co-major, it's really what do you want to learn? What can you learn to find your passion and set you off in a direction? Right? Yeah. I think that you found that. I think that you explored with your free electives. And
yeah, I actually took an anthropology class. It was sex, gender, culture. And I was like, you know what, this sounds really interesting. I'm going to take it. Learned, I really don't like it. I don't like that. I had to take a science class. I really don't like science, but I took them and it made me love my fashion classes that much more. But I also did take a synthesis, and my synthesis was all about Gen Z. And that had to be one of my favorite classes at Albright. I absolutely loved that class. I loved the professor. And we really just had really real discussions about Gen Z. And that, again, helped me in the fashion industry, because Gen Z is the new generation, and how are they changing the fashion industry? What trends are they doing? And as we see, like now, like on TikTok and everything, like Gen Z doesn't want skinny jeans anymore. They don't like want the middle, they want the middle part. Like these are the new trends they're doing. And I think like, again, taking those different types of classes that are far out from what you think you like actually can be very, very helpful as well.
So keeping your mind open
Yes,
when
definitely.
you go into a class. I think I've only been doing this for 25, 30 years, but I find that students put classes in buckets.
Mm-hmm.
These are the classes that are in my major that I'm interested in. And these are the classes that really aren't going to help me at all, but I have to take them. And that is actually not the truth. So fashion is something that's influenced by the environment, right? The
Mm-hmm.
times, what's happening culturally, what's happening economically, it all has an effect on what fashion is. So taking those other classes enables you to be able to look at the environment in a broad way, and it helps you in making those fashion decisions. So I didn't want to turn this into a lecture class, but I think that you actually did that, Lauren, when you were at school.
Yeah, definitely. Like learning about when I took a textiles class, learning about the different textiles, but that again goes to the environment and how we literally saw exactly the process of how cotton was made. You don't think about that when you're wearing a cotton or a wool sweater. You don't think about how that actually started, but it is all related and it all comes full circle. And definitely now with this whole change of pace, it's crazy how the world has changed. And I actually was just thinking about, I did my senior STEM project on virtual styling. And
you did.
I just remembered that. I actually did my whole project on it, which is kind of crazy, especially with the world we live in the world of Zoom and how the fashion industry is adapting and how styling is part of that and how people are adapting to this virtual styling. So that's very interesting as well. So definitely research what's happening, what are the trends, what is going on. Like we were just saying, at Fashion Week is happening right now. You can go on and watch the shows. People are wearing masks. So it's always about adapting and what's trending right now, what's happening in the world. And I think like this whole virtual world is obviously changing. So how are we going to adapt to it? And we have to adapt to it if we want to succeed. So that was really interesting too, as well, to research different types of virtual styling. So like I said, you can make fashion anything. Like I had first a split hot minute a job at Nordstrom working as a virtual stylist, personally styling trunks for people. So there's just so much out there you can do now with the world of digital and virtual and the internet. There's just so much you can do.
So you are actually, we're at a point now where fashion is changing, and you hit on a lot of the current topics that are out there, where styling is going virtual, and the TikTok marketing, and the fact that consumers are now doing the marketing through viral marketing.
Yeah.
Consumers are putting content out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And brands have to understand that that is what's going on. It's not just what the brand is showing at this point, but what the consumers are actually out there taking pictures of and what they're wearing. So
yeah, it's about like what the consumers want. As we see, like stores are closing because stores aren't able to adapt to what the consumers want or for other reasons. But like now the bridal industry is also changing. We're seeing different trends. We just got a whole new collection from David's Bridal. They have a smaller line called DB Studio, and it is strictly minimal, just very sleek, simple dresses, no beading, no lace, no nothing, just a whole collection of that. And I would say everybody that comes in wants to try at least one of those dresses on. My best friend, she bought one of those dresses. My sister, she's getting married. She looked at those dresses. So the very minimalized look is definitely coming back and trending. Um, Also, a lot of people really want the extravagant look. They want the lace and the beading. So we have to make sure we have a healthy mixture of those both as well. I had a bride come in and she wanted that minimalist style, and her twin sister was with her, and she wanted the poofy beading lace gown. So we had to, David's Bridal had to adapt their brands that they had. We're actually discontinuing our Vera Wang partnership, which is very sad, and we're very sad about it, but they decided not to partner up just because they felt as though her styles weren't adapting to the customers and weren't making as many sales. So they decided to market more, make their signature brand, which is called Galena Signature, their centerpiece of the store now, because that's what the consumers are wanting more. So they had to adapt as a store to fit what the consumers wanted, not what the brand wanted for the consumers now. So it's definitely all flopping with these trends. And we as stylists have to make sure, one, we're really listening to the customer. And if someone comes in and they want that sleek, simple look, I have to know not to pull them styles. Maybe I'll pull them one just for a wild card, because sometimes you never know what you'll feel when you try on. But at the end of the day, they really don't fall in love with it. So yeah, that's just been very interesting to learn that these new trends are out there. And I actually love all the dresses, those simple dresses. I think it's such a clean look. And it's definitely a trend going on right now that they had to make a whole collection just for that trend.
Yeah, we were talking earlier before we got started. My daughter's getting married in October, and it is very sleek, very minimalistic, but beautiful. No beading.
Yep.
She looks at me like I'm crazy. No beading, Mom. I don't want beading. So it is interesting how trends come and go.
Mhm.
Now, you made mention before about the styling projects that you've done. You did a project on the 50s and 60s. What kind of research goes into styling? You mentioned research, and I think that's really an important part of styling. So can you speak to the research that has to be done?
Yeah. So, especially with when I got hired at David's Bridal, I went to Barnes and Nobles and I bought about 5 bridal magazines, and I started researching trends. Again, what are brides looking for? How, learning about the different types of veils. I didn't know there was about 5 different types of veils. I thought you just had short and long. There's about walking, mid, cathedral, short, like there's so many. You had to learn about the different types of silhouettes of gowns, the different fabrics, different necklines, different sleeve lengths, different lengths of gowns. So I needed to do that research. And the way I did that was, one, I just went out and I bought, like I said, bought magazines, and I researched and went on the internet, and I went to David's Bridal's website and just kind of played with the filters, filtering an A-line dress, filtering an off the shoulder neckline, which are things I knew about, but I didn't know a lot about bridal. So that's what I did. For the 60s and 70s photo shoot, I did a lot of research for that. Obviously, since I wasn't around in the 60s and 70s, I really didn't know what the style was, besides from like the typical bell bottoms. I was thinking hippie in my head, but I didn't want to do that for my shoot. So a big one was, I went to my mom, I went to older people that I knew, and I was like, what was trending? Like, what did you guys wear? And kind of got my inspiration that way. And then I did do a lot of online research for the project. I looked at old photos from that time period. I made a whole mood board for myself, because I did also include that in my PowerPoint presentation for that project. And I just found old photos. I went through Pinterest and I pinned a bunch of things. Same thing with the other photo shoot that I did for the styling class. We all had a sharing Pinterest board, and we sat down as a team and discussed what we wanted to do. And we were like, how can we achieve this? And we were looking up different trends and what was trending within our theme. And you might not realize how much research goes into it, but you have to learn what is going to look good and how, like, I couldn't put certain things in with the 60s and 70s because it wouldn't go and I wouldn't have gotten that aesthetic across. But immediately when people have looked at my photos, they're like, yep, that's the era. Like, they knew exactly, from like the eye cat sunglasses to the bright colors. They're like, yep, that's the time period. Or looking at the styling photo shoot, they were like, okay, that's the vibe they were going for. So you really have to do your research to understand and you have to get that point across. So it is so important, and the internet is your best friend for that.
We have another question that came up. I have always been told that if you're not really passionate about fashion, to not go into it, studying and working in the industry, because it is a really competitive environment. What can you say about this?
So fashion is very competitive. It is, you got to work hard and you got to love it. And because you have to start as the low man on the totem pole. You have to start at the very bottom. And the only way you're going to get to the top is to work to get to the top. You might have to start as an assistant. You might have to start getting coffee and doing all of that. But if you want it, you need to get it, because there are a million other girls out there that want the same thing you want. So it all comes from that passion and that drive, because it is such a competitive industry. And for me personally, I didn't want to move to New York or LA, which, if for jobs that I wanted, I thought I had to move there. But I did my research. I networked to find jobs within what I love around me, which was even harder. Because again, there are girls exactly like me wanting the same exact thing. But I just put myself out there. I made so many resumes and had so many people look over my resumes to find the perfect one. I update my website regularly. I update my LinkedIn. I update all my social media, everything. Because that's how you're going to get ahead and that's how you're going to succeed. And it's all about finding like your aesthetic and your kind of own brand, even if you aren't like an influencer or whatever. You still have to market yourself. So just kind of like honing in on what you are as a person and also as a person in fashion, because it is going to be competitive. And just putting yourself out there is the biggest thing that I can say. And just going for it and just networking, and just got to do what you got to do.
Thanks, Lauren. And another question: with trends changing all the time, how do brands stay on top of that? It's a great question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So bigger brands actually have people within their company called trend forecasters, and all they do is look at trends and forecast trends. So that's how people learn about trends. Also, Fashion Week is a really big way to learn about trends. Most shows you can find pictures online, on their website. So it's really just about, again, researching different trends and how looking at a pattern through different designers. And like, I read a lot of online Vogue or Vogue France or InStyle, and I look at all the trend articles, and that's kind of like how I do my research. But I know with like bigger brands and how they stay on top of it is, one, consumer feedback, which is how David's Bridal is going to bridal them. Also, they do have a trend forecaster as well. And what's selling, what types of dresses are selling, what designers selling. Are we selling more Melissa Sweet, or are we selling more Galena Signature? And that's how they kind of decide what's trending. And then they'll market towards those trends based on past purchases and past consumer feedback. So that's kind of how brands kind of stay on top of it. But I would say the biggest thing is a trend forecaster.
So the bridal industry seems to have been hit really hard. We know a bride. We were invited to a 2020 April 2020 wedding last year, which was delayed until July, and now it's delayed until April of this year. You know, how has David's Bridal dealt with all of this change in the economy, the pandemic? Are they doing anything differently to weather this storm?
So I just started working there about a month ago. So I really wasn't there during the really hard times. But as I started on, they were like, we are going to be busy because from January to May is, even without a pandemic, is called Bridal Christmas. Just like how bigger retailers, their Christmas season is more of like November, December. Ours is January through May. That's when we get the most sales volume. And just how they've been dealing with it. They've been doing a lot of social media content from their corporate headquarters and posting that on social media. And that's how they've really been getting themselves out there. I know right now, like our store kind of taking a hit, some people returning dresses, some people realizing they don't want this kind of dress anymore. They want something simple. Or right now, what we've been seeing is brides are having a very, very simple wedding, but they still want their dream gown. So they're coming in for the full princess gown and they just want to make it the best that they can. And they want their dress to be perfect because they aren't having necessarily their dream wedding. So they thought, okay, let me just get my dream dress and still feel really good on the wedding day, even though it's not necessarily what they want. So we're getting a lot of that. The nice thing is, right now, you can bring in as many people as you want. We just have a store limit total. So the store is limited to 225 people, including all the staff. So if someone comes in and they have like their mom and their grandma and their sister and other people, we might be able to bring in like the mom and the grandma, and then they might all have to take shifts coming into the store depending on how many people are in the store, which I thought was really nice, that you were still able to have people come with you for that experience instead of having to do that yourself. So they're definitely trying to think of more ways to incorporate families. But we are still pretty busy. We're still hitting most of our sales goals, which is really interesting to me, because more people are thinking that by the fall they're going to be able to have that dream wedding, and we're actually getting a lot of people come in now to buy their wedding dress for July or September, which usually isn't the case because sometimes you can't get a wedding dress that fast. I had a bride that came in today wanting her wedding dress for next Tuesday. Obviously she had to buy off the rack and she had to buy her complete perfect size. And if she needed alterations, she had to pay a rush fee for them. Like, they can do the alterations, but it's going to cost you if you want to get that fast. But we're definitely seeing people waiting longer to get dresses, instead of going like a year out or like 10 to 9 months out from their wedding. They're coming in a lot sooner just because they don't know and they don't really want to return it. So that's kind of what we're seeing now.
I would think because of the pandemic that there would be a lot of pent up demand. So as we, with the vaccine that's come out, if you look at the environment, I think people are feeling better. And you probably, all of those brides that maybe would held off with a wedding, over the past year are now looking forward. And my forecast is that you are really going to be slammed with brides that just can't wait any longer, because that demand has been pent up, and they're going to do it.
Yep. Everybody's just tired of pushing their weddings back, that they're just making them smaller.
Right.
That's like a big thing, or just having outdoor weddings. Like I said, just changing the whole vibe of their wedding, or getting their dream gown, and just having a different venue than what they actually envisioned, because they felt as though the gown was more special to them instead of a venue. So it's just been kind of adapting like everybody else.
Yeah, I can see that. So are there any more questions from the audience? Audience is awfully quiet out there. If you had to give advice to students in college now, and I know you've said you've given a lot of advice throughout the past hour, but what kind of advice would you give to someone who is in college now and is graduating this year or next year? What do you think is important?
Probably the biggest thing for me, especially having to go through the end of my senior year in a pandemic, just live in the moment. I know you've probably been hearing that from everybody throughout this pandemic, but we really don't know what can happen. And I think when I look back at my college experience, I wish I would have lived in the moment a little bit more and not been so captured by social media or captured by trying to be someone who I really wasn't, just trying to fit in and be that clique and not really be who I was, because I felt as though I missed out on so many good moments because I didn't live in the moment and I was either on my phone or focusing on a relationship or focusing on mending relationships with friends who weren't really friends. So my biggest advice would be just to be authentic and be you and just live in that moment and enjoy college, because it is real when you hit the real world. I know you probably are like, oh my gosh, we hear this all the time. And I was in your seat and I get it. And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm an adult. I have bills to pay. I have rent to pay. And it's live in that moment of that college experience of being able to see your friends all the time and being on campus and going to the caf. Like, my friend and I send Snapchat memories to each other every day, and we talk about how much we miss it and wish we could go back. So it's definitely just enjoy it while you can, because it'll go by faster than you ever could imagine, which again, you probably hear, but it really does. It sounds so cliche, but it is so true.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and sharing your experiences and your advice with our students and our prospective students.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. I really appreciate it. So I have to put in a little blurb here. Our next Fashion Discovery event is March 1st, and the guest speaker is Camille Fuller. Camille was a 2017 graduate from Albright. She is actually the founder of two businesses. One is Anchorage LLC, and it's a company that specializes in creating naturally hand-dyed fashions and accessories. And I have to say that Camille did a research project with one of our professors in natural dyeing, and that's really what got her into this. And she also has a photography business. Camille was the editor of our Fashion Lion magazine at one point and was very interested in photography. So she will be with us on March 1st. And to those prospective students out there, you will get an invitation from our admissions department. And to our current students, there will be announcements made on campus as to when that next one is coming up. So I do hope you will join us. And Lauren, thanks again for joining us. Oh, wait, I see another question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just to thank you for all the amazing information. It was great, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone. And Lauren, I'll be talking to you later on this week about that connection that we talked about.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm not sure if someone is still on, but yes, you can contact me in the future. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever. I'm open to anybody reaching out to me. You can just find me if you search me on Facebook under Lauren Blazofsky, the same thing on LinkedIn as well. You can find me, and then I don't mind sharing my email if anybody wants it to connect with me that way. I'm open to any connections.
Thanks, Lauren. Actually, I was talking to Tiffany Smith this week, who is very interested in styling and is looking for an internship. Your name came up. So she may be reaching out to
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just however you can find me. I know my last name's a little hard to spell, but if you type in Lauren and then just keep going, it should pop up anywhere, and like especially on LinkedIn too as well. So
okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
you.
listen, have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care.